What's up, y'all? It's the Love the Game podcast. We're back for another episode. I'm Ray.
I'm Marco.
Today we're gonna be talking about games 3 and 4, our reactions to it, and then also we got some Sixers news that we're just gonna talk about. Um, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. So game three, uh, that was definitely a crazy game that I witnessed. Um, I liked Indiana's fight. I liked how they were just they were executing multiple different coverages on SGA. You saw that he looks sluggish, I guess, as the game progressed. And also a big game for Sixers legend TJ McConnell. So shout out TJ McConnell. Yeah, so I was really impressed by this game. Cole, what were some takeaways that you had?
Anytime that you can win the turnover margin against the Thunder is a pretty impressive game.
Yeah,
Um, because they're a team that does not turn the ball over very much, and they're a team that turns you over a lot. So Pacers only had 13 turnovers. We're able to force 17, and six of those being from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who really doesn't turn the ball over that much. That's one thing I really love about Shai is how he's the primary initiator of their offense,
yeah,
but really does take care of the ball. So I talked about in the last pod, one of my keys for the Pacers was to kind of limit Shai because I didn't really think anybody else could step up and beat you. And that proved to be the case in game was it 3 that we're talking about right now?
yeah.
And even though J Dub had a pretty good game scoring the ball, he still turned the ball over 4 times and was only able to put up 26 as their leading scorer. And Chet only had 20 on like 6 for 15 from the field for 53% true shooting. So you live with that if you're the Pacers. You're very happy with that because Shai only was able to have 24 and 53% true shooting. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, being able to win the turnover battle and to shut down their star. Pacers had 13 more second chance points, so they were able to do more on the offensive glass. And even though the Thunder did have 2 more offensive rebounds than them, and this wasn't even the game where they outshot them from the three. They only made 9 of their 27 3-point attempts, and the Thunder made 10 of their 22. So, pretty uncharacteristic game from the Pacers to get outshot from three, especially by the Thunder, and they're still able to win because they won the possession battle. So that was a really impressive game from them for sure.
Yeah. And then also like to your point, it was definitely I feel like if I'm the Pacers, I was definitely feeling good with a game where Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Shea had all over 20. So that's definitely a big statement win. And also again, props to the defenders. Andrew Nemhard, I challenged him to do better. But I think he still did what he does best. And he really felt his impact on the game. And again, shout out to TJ McConnell, shout out to Aaron Neesmith, all those guys on the Pacers. Shout out Ben Mathurin.
Yeah,
Dropped
definitely
himself
forgot
the
to
bench.
mention him in my part.
You didn't even talk about him. He was
Yeah.
amazing. And it's that was I feel like kind of like the tipping point for game four. Um, so I'm really I think going after game three, I was really interested in seeing how OKC would respond and then how Indiana would try to capitalize on it.
Yeah, no, Ben definitely had the magnets on. It was a 9 for 12 from the field. Felt like every shot he was putting up was going in. And he's getting to the free throw line like he did in like what his rookie or second year where he had a ridiculously high
Yeah,
free throw rate for non-start, 7 for 8 from the free throw line. So yeah, that was a crazy game from him. I don't think they win that game without him. That was a
I
ridiculous
agree.
scoring punch
I
off the
agree.
bench. And I will say, I like watching Benedict Mathurin play basketball because I like watching somebody that's gonna go get a bucket, even though if it's not like conducive to winning. And throughout his career to this point, Ben Mathurin has had a hard time sticking on the floor for such a good team because of that. Because like kind of what you see in Game 4, I'm sure we'll get into that. But if the magnets aren't on for him, he can be detrimental to the team because of forced shots. He doesn't play much defense, and he's not a good connective piece. And that team like runs off of players being good connective pieces and making each
Yeah.
other better.
Yeah.
And Ben Mathurin, that is the one thing that one of the things that he struggles with. So if the shot's not on, then it's hard to play him. But
Yeah.
him getting to the free throw line and him shooting the three ball well helped them win a game. So you see both sides of the coin with him in these past 2 games, which is pretty fun for me to watch. I also want to give a shout out to Lou Dort. I pretty much said that none of the role players stepped up for the Thunder. I kind of take that back because Lu Dort did have 4 threes that game, and I was worried about him shooting the three ball, and he
Yeah.
did in a game where Caruso only had 8, Case and Wallace had 7 and didn't hit a three. Isaiah Joe did hit 2 threes back to back that game, but I don't know if you're familiar with the weak link theory, where they're saying like the new thing is like your worst player on defense is now
Yeah, it's the
more
guy that they target. Yeah,
defense.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they'll be attacked and like I don't really agree with the weak link theory because I do think your best player does matter more.
Mhm.
I sort of study like your second worst defender is probably like the most important because like if you have 2 guys that can attack, that's kind of too hard to make up for if
Yeah,
that
I
makes
get
sense.
that. I get that. Like
But
New York. Yeah.
yeah, but Isaiah Joe like 2 fouls like immediately after hitting back to back threes, so they can't even keep him in the game. And that kind of happened again in the next game. I made a tweet about it, and that was sad for me to see. But shout out to Lu Dort because he did step up, played 36 minutes that game, hit 4 threes. I don't remember him making a second half three. No, he hit one in the third quarter. So most of them came in the first half, but which I guess helped lead to the collapse down the stretch because it was only over 1 in the fourth quarter. But still, he still played a pretty good game for them.
Yeah. And so you know, on the game four, uh I felt like that game, I mean, we both said it was a crazy game. I think from the opening tip to the end. Um, I definitely had like a lot of questions for both teams. I think notably like something that I took away was like J Dub, I think has spurts where he doesn't want to be aggressive. And I think he needs to have more of that, I guess, that scorer's mentality. I saw one play that he was like, I want to say on the right elbow, where he or was it the left elbow? I don't know. I don't remember specifically. It was in the middle of the court. He had the ball, he had a wide open jumper. And then instead he passed it back to Shea. Shea passed it back to J Dub, and I think he went in for like a floater. Um, even though the Thunder won, I was really, really, really impressed with Alex Caruso. I think he was basically assigned to outwork TJ McConnell the whole night, you know? And I think he really responded to that big game that TJ had yesterday. Um, and then also I want to give a big shout out to Chet Holmgren, because like bro, he twisted both his ankles or something like that on
Yeah.
like the first play, and then he kept twisting his ankles throughout the game and was like in and out. You know, you could see that he was like in pain and stuff, but he still was like, nah, I need to help my team, and he really responded on the defensive end. And I don't think they win that without him.
Oh
Um,
yeah, monster fourth
50
quarter from him for sure.
rebounds. And I want to say four of them were offensive rebounds. So, those were really pivotal in their win. Excuse me.
I never thought I would see a game in the year 2025 in the NBA Finals where a team wins a game with 3 made threes.
Yeah,
That the craziest part to me was being able to win a game against this team that protects the ball and shoots as many threes as they do while only making 3. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I like in the same way I felt the Pacers stole game 1 with like their late comeback. I felt like the Thunder kind of did it
I
in
agree.
game 4 because like to me the game almost felt over. Like even though the score was pretty close, I'm like I just don't think the Pacers are going to like fold down the stretch, and they scored 3 points in the last 3.5 minutes, but I didn't foresee that happening at all.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, shout out to Shea, big game. I think Dagnall,
What
he
he had
has
like 17 in the fourth quarter?
he had 15 in the fourth. Yeah, but
15. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
monster
I
fourth
mean,
quarter,
yeah, crazy. He was
big
he was
shots down the
crazy
stretch.
tough shots, bro. Like just I mean, other than I'm not gonna lie, because there's a lot of controversy on that one shot where it looked like he traveled. Like he was just hitting crazy, like just crazy mid-rangers, bro.
We
Like
can talk about that one because I'm pretty
absolutely,
opinionated
bro.
on it. I mean, if they want to, it's tough because people say it's a push off. I'm like, yes, he did push off, but he's getting his jersey grab before the
Yeah,
push off. So it's like if they're gonna let the jersey grab go, they're gonna let the push off go, and then like he gets tripped by his foot, and that causes him to travel. So they're not gonna call the travel without calling the trip. It's like they're just letting it play. And I'm somebody like I would rather them just like call the foul. If I'm being honest, I know Durant, like you see him in the chat, like a lot of stoppages, like
yeah,
you
yeah,
talk basketball with him, he hates when they blow the whistle a lot. I
yeah.
don't care. I feel like if it's a foul, I get mad when I'm watching it and they don't call a foul.
I get
Does that
that.
if it impacts the game. I will say that because if it's something like at the half court line where somebody gets bumped and like he doesn't turn the ball over or anything like that, I don't care if they let it go. Like if it's not impacting the game in a way, like I don't care if they let fouls go. But
Mhm.
if it is impacting the game like that, where he's like grabbing his jersey and then it leads to like three other missed calls like that, I'd rather them just like call the foul on the drive. Like I know it's gonna make fans mad, but yeah, that one like the push off was the most egregious out of the three violations on that one play. So I see why that's the one people gravitate toward. But like
Mhm.
you see him like getting his jersey held on the drive, which also is a foul. And I don't know. I just don't. I would have been mad if the travel was called because he did get tripped before that by his like the foot to foot contact, which would be a defensive foul. But the one that's making me mad is, do you know the one where he's like at the nail and Neesmith just has like his arm like
Oh yeah,
his
yeah,
on
yeah,
his
yeah.
shoulder
He
and
did
he
the
goes up
shot.
for the shot. It's like, yes, he's trying
Yeah,
to draw the foul, but like this is something that's taught in AAU. You can't like put your hands on the
yeah,
guy you're defending.
yeah,
Like, I don't know. I see that. I don't my reaction is not to get mad at Shea. My reaction is to get mad at Neesmith because I'm like, bro, what
yeah,
are you
yeah.
doing? Like that, and that's a guy that you know is going to draw a foul. So why do you have your hands on him? Like that
Yeah.
just didn't make sense to me.
I
Like I know
understand
he plays
because
at the
like
NBA level, he's a great defensive player, but what are you doing?
yeah, like even to your point, it looked like at the end of the game he was hunting Neesmith. You know, like I when I saw him call for the screen to get Neesmith on him, I was like, oh man, like he really thinks he can score on him multiple times. Like, all right, bet, like let's see what he does. And I was watching a couple of videos on just the game in general, rewatching the game, and it really looked like Shea understood that Neesmith's tendency to gamble on defense, kind of like if you think of like a Jaren Jackson or like a Dylan Brooks, like that would have been the way better matchup versus Andrew Nemhard, who I think is more of like a calculated defender. Um, so it was definitely really interesting to see him get those calls because some of them I won't lie, like it definitely looked like they were just calling them to make it a game at times. Um, but I also think like if you're the Pacers, you can't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, I think part of taking Neesmith was like purely to get him to foul out of the game because he eventually did. Um, and I think that's really smart. Like when somebody hits five fouls,
Yeah,
I
I
hate
agree.
when the NBA when like NBA teams like go away from that guy. Like if I had like I don't know, there's times in the playoffs like Jokic would pick up his fifth foul. It's like that's the best player on that team. Like attack him every single time and like make them call it foul. And I know because it's five and it's Jokic, like the refs probably won't foul him out of the game.
Yeah,
Like I don't know, I would attack him because at least he's like at the very worst, he's gonna be like more cautious to not pick up that last foul.
exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And oh no, I think the Pacers did a good job of that. We talked about how Shea looked tired in game three. He also looked pretty tired to me in game four. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, he
and I think
did.
part of that is because even though Shea is not a weak defender, he's also not he's also not Dort or Caruso or like
Yeah.
Casey Wallace, where he's like an elite point of attack defender. So
Yeah.
like getting him switched onto like whoever your initiator is for the offense at that time, whether it be Halliburton or McConnell
Yeah,
or whoever
I
it is.
saw a lot of them going at it against each other, honestly.
Yeah,
That
and
was really
I think
smart. Yeah.
And I think more of that is just like to try to tire Shea out than to be like, we're really
Yeah.
gonna pick on like the weak defender because he's not a weak defender. Like, is he better in a help situation than he is a point of attack guy? Absolutely. Like Shea is not like an elite point of attack defender. He's a much better helper being in passing lanes and like doubling a guy and like getting a steal in the post than he is as a point of attack defender. But
Yeah.
like he is the primary initiator of their offense. And like last game, like Dagnall has been getting out coached. I forget if I said this already, but I think he did a nice job of keeping Shea off ball because Shea is drawing like so much attention. They're having somebody else initiate it, and then Shea getting the ball. Like it's harder to double somebody when they're off the ball because you can
Yeah.
get them the ball, and then he like 1 to 2 dribbles, like get into a shot or draw a foul or do whatever. So I think Dagno did a really nice job of running Shea off the ball and getting him more efficient looks. That did lead to Shea having 0 assists, which was pretty funny. I think the Thunder going into this game, their least assist in a half was 6, and they finished this game with 11 total assists as a team.
Yeah. I think they had 6 assists in the first half.
Yeah,
I'm
and then that would
surprised.
make it 5 in the second half. So yeah, like ridiculously low assist numbers, and part of that is just because they're using their point guard, like we talked about last podcast, off ball.
Yeah.
So as like a play finisher. So that's pretty interesting. I thought that was a nice adjustment by Dagno, who has been getting out coached this series, but I just wanted to give him his flowers there because that was super smart and definitely helped win them the game in my opinion. Because also it like helped Shea like conserve some energy because um when you're on ball the whole time, like and you're being put in every action, you're gonna be so like dead tired at the end. But
Yeah.
Shea wasn't tired, like maybe he was, but he didn't show it at the end because he had like
Yeah.
the 15 points in no
I
stretch.
mean, like, even like to your point, like in the third quarter when they took him out, like you could tell, like when we were saying it looked like the game was over, like it was like they looked like they needed a way, and J Dub was like the only guy who was kind of giving them that. Um, but like it felt like the Pacers were just making them play their type of basketball, and that's credit to Rick Carlisle, like you said. I think Rick Carlisle has been the better coach out of the two. He's been making very, very interesting substitutions. Almost like I think he's been like making it more of a chess match than Dagenau. Not to say that it like he hasn't been matching that, but he's been I just having a coaching masterclass this finals, excuse me. Um, and then also like I also want to give credit to Obi Toppin, because he played outstanding last game. And I know he's kicking himself because that's a game that you hate to lose. But I feel like he was answering everything that they needed in that third quarter, specifically with those two back-to-back threes. They needed that like
Mhm.
immensely. So you know, it was still crazy. Um, SGA coming back from the fourth. I mean, again, like I think also another thing, even though they did put him through defensive actions, Shea kind of held his own. He had three steals. And then he also had like a clutch block on Halliburton.
Yeah,
I was like, damn, like, okay, I see you, bro. Like you're playing desperate, you know what I mean? Because I felt like I guess most of the time it looked like Shea was just jogging up the court, kind of being nonchalant. Um, but yeah, man, like I was just really impressed with this game by the Thunder. I don't really know how I feel like this is gonna go seven just based on this kind of win. I feel like Indiana's gonna come out fighting for game five. I don't know. Like, what do you
yeah,
think, bro?
yeah. I mean, I had his prediction for 6 games. I right now how it's looking, it feels like it's gonna be 7. I definitely agree with you because I don't think either of these teams is gonna lose like back-to-back games because one of them is going to lose game
Yeah,
5. I think that same team is going to come back and win game 6 just because of how the series has been going. I also want to give a shout out to Pascal Siakam. He did play a great
facts,
game.
facts,
He
facts.
kind of had like a nothing fourth quarter where he didn't score, and I'm not sure he actually recorded a stat in the fourth quarter. I know he took a shot, but um, played a really great 3 quarters and was a big part of the reason they were up. They did need more from him in the fourth, but he did play a good game, and I just did want to mention him. He was on my notes. And yeah, shout out to Chet too. Big fourth quarter. We talked about that a little bit before. I do think he needs to shoot the ball better though, and
Mm,
more because he
yeah,
had 0 for 7 from three in the past 2 games. And we talked about Miles Turner, how Chet being able to shoot the ball and keep him out of the paint was very important. That has not happened these past couple games. So those are like the last 2 things on my notes I just wanted to bring up.
yeah.
Um, yeah. We both predicted it coming back 2-2. It just felt close the whole time.
Hey,
Um,
man, love the game pod. We know what we're talking about, man.
Yeah,
Come on
bro.
now.
I'm not gonna
Come on
lie.
now.
I started rooting for the Thunder because I'm like, damn, I won 7, and I'm like, and I want my prediction to be right. Because
Yeah,
going in,
yeah.
like, I don't care. And then like game 4, I'm like, no, I want 7 games of this. I want to see a comeback right now.
Bro. And also, bro, like you could tell the physicality got more intense this game. And you can tell like the teams are starting not to like each other too. Which I think is gonna play a factor into these next three games. Um, you know, there are a couple of instances where there were scuffles on the court, and that's how you know like the finals is really intense, when you start
Yeah,
seeing that type of energy. So I'm really excited because I think the levels of basketball, they're only gonna go up from here. Um, I think if you're Tyrese Halliburton, I know you're kicking yourself because you want to give more of a statement. So I'm expecting him to do something really interesting in OKC. I don't know what some of your predictions are. I do predict though, they're probably not going to play Miles Turner as much because I think he cost them this game low key.
I would agree if I trusted their backups more. I know they like to go small sometimes and just have like no center on the court and have Pascal run the small ball 5. I just don't think you could really do that with this team, in my opinion, because I think even if you put Pascal and when Chet's the center, I still think like you're lacking too much size. So I still think Miles Turner will play a good amount. But if they had like a center I trusted, I would agree with you. I feel like I don't know. I like last series we definitely saw more Tony Bradley and Chris Bryant than we had this
Yeah,
series.
yeah,
Not Chris Bryant. That's his
yeah.
name.
Thomas Bryant,
Tony
you
Bryant.
good, bro. You good, bro.
I don't know. Maybe they go to that. It'd be interesting though. He didn't rebound the ball well these past couple games either. And yeah, I mean, Chet, he was getting a lot of people were talking a lot of bad stuff about him after game three.
Yeah,
His aggressiveness, they were calling him soft and all that. And I was happy to see him step up in game four because I do like him as a player. I think he's very special.
yeah, me too.
Limiting the Pacers to non-fast break points, I thought was very important for the Thunder,
Oh yeah, yeah.
especially when they're like out shooting you like that, like stopping them from getting out in transition and getting fast buckets. I think that
Oh,
was super important. So
and bro, they held them to 104. So it's like, hey man, 104. If you're holding the Pacers to 104, that's a good outcome. That's a good outcome for sure. I can't lie, bro.
yeah, 116 game three. Yeah, your theory was like keeping them around 100 points. Yeah, every time they've scored less than 110 in these finals, they've lost.
Yeah.
Keep the Pacers below 110, you got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep them in between that 100, 110. That's a good way to win. But I know you were interested in some things going on with the Sixers. Definitely like elaborate, let the pod know like what you've been thinking about recently.
All right, so the past couple of days, you got a lot of reports. The one that was 2 days ago was that the Sixers had VJ Edgecombe in, which is expected. He's there.
Yeah,
He's gonna be there at the third overall pick, and that they really liked him. He went out to dinner with Maury. Maxey flew in, which was like completely expected. But then, like you know how it is, like fans overreact. They're like, "Oh my God, they brought him in first. Like they haven't brought in Ace yet." Then,
yeah,
like 10 minutes later, report come out, Ace Bailey coming in next week to meet. So he's coming in too, which is completely expected. I'm sure they'll also talk to Trey Johnson. I'm sure they'll also probably talk to Con Knippel too.
yeah.
It's his combine measurements because he wasn't there originally, but then he came back in. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Okay.
But
All
then
right.
another report came out that we were talking to the Spurs about moving up to number two,
I saw that. Yeah.
and which I don't know, smoke screen season. Like could be us trying to get leverage to trade back. Could be the Spurs trying to get leverage to trade back with another team or something like that. But if you think about it, I think it also makes sense for both teams. I think
Yeah.
that three guard lineup with Harper, I assume we keep McCain because I don't think we would give up three and McCain to move up. I think we would rather have
Bro,
VJ or
they
Ace.
give up McCain. I'm done, man.
I think it would be stupid. Like for as good as I think Dylan Harper is, like because you have to give up McCain and three to trade up. That wouldn't make sense. I would rather just have McCain and whoever we draft at three. For as
Yeah.
great as I think Dylan Harper is, like that the trade wouldn't make sense to me. I'd rather have the two good young players than the one good young player. Especially because Dylan Harper, for as much as I like him, I think he is by far the second best prospect in the draft, in my opinion. And I would
Yeah.
be willing to give up draft capital to move up and get him. Um, a guard that struggles with their not struggles, but a guard who isn't a good 3 point shooter off the dribble is scary. Like for as good as the Thunder are, like I think that's how good you have to be a primary creator who's a guard and not shoot the three ball well. And like it's unlikely he ever gets to be as good as SGA because SGA is one of the best players I've ever seen, like peak for peak
Yeah.
in my lifetime. But yeah, how would you feel about moving up to Dylan Harper? Like, what would you be willing to give up? I know you said you wouldn't be willing to give up McCain, but what about like what picks? How many? Or at all? Or
Oddly
would you
enough,
rather
bro,
stay?
I feel like since the Sixers are, because I'm looking at it in a perspective of we honestly need to rebuild more than contend, right?
Yeah,
So like I'm thinking like if you want to trade up to two, it better be a good reason of why you want to trade up to number two because like you don't need to be trading extra picks when we're like our future is kind of like uncertain right now. You know what I mean? Um, I'm kind of I'm kind of on the fence of just like keeping the third pick. I've heard that they would trade down potentially to draft VJ. Um, so like if that's the guy that they want, we gotta like we gotta get something in return. You know what I mean? We have to get another player, preferably like a veteran three, maybe four. Um, so I mean, I feel like I'm really content with staying at three, just because of how hard we had to work to get to three.
mhm.
I just don't want this pick to be basically a waste of a year.
Yeah,
Especially when we're trying to compete allegedly.
yeah. Personally, I would trade up, but I would like be very cautious about the package, and I would probably only want to use the Clippers picks to trade up, if that makes sense. Because that way, if we have another year like we had this year, it doesn't really hurt us, and we We traded the one swap earlier in the season, but we still have the 2028 unprotected.
Oh, wait, which
So
deal? And which deal was that when we traded the swap?
we
Trying
traded the
to
swap.
understand what you're
We
talking
traded the swap with Reggie Jackson
about. Oh,
to
okay, to
the
Charlotte or something
Wizards.
like that.
To the Wizards as
Oh,
like a salary dump. We got back Jared Butler and we got back 4 seconds, but those seconds are all like really good if you look at the team. So it's
gotcha.
actually a really good trade for Morey. Like if I'm being honest, because like the Wizards they didn't want to have 4 seconds, they would rather have one first, even though that first is like so that first is interesting because it's the worst of the Clippers, the Rockets, and the Thunder. So one of those teams is probably going to be really good. So it's going to be like a late 20s first, but we still have the Clippers unprotected 2028.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to trade that because that pick could look really valuable.
yeah,
But who knows? Like maybe Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are still there in 2028, and that team is like a play-in level team, and you're only trading the 15th overall pick in 3 years, and you're trading the third overall pick to move up. So I would look at it as like
I get
maybe
that.
you're selling high on that pick because it's pretty valuable. I wouldn't give up our own though because I would be really scared because I agree we are rebuilding, but we also kind of got that pick for free if you look at it because we got that in the James Harden signing trade. Like James Harden could have opted out and we got nothing back for him. He opted into his player option and we were able to trade him and get back like two firsts and a swap, I
Yeah,
believe, and like salary fillers.
yeah,
So we have that pick, and it would be nice to keep it. But it's like you also kind of want to make a timeline. Like we both believe in McCain, we both believe in Maxey. If you're waiting until 2028, that pick is probably not going to be on the same timeline as Tyrese Maxey. It
yeah.
might be on the
I
same
agree.
timeline as Sarah McCain, but like I'll be cool with trading, like with using that pick to go get Dylan Harper. If it's our pick in
I
2030,
get
I'm a
that.
little
Yeah.
scared that that's going to be a good pick. But I would do that. I don't know if that would be enough for the Spurs, but I don't know because when we traded up from 3-1 with the Celtics, we used the Kings. We used a Kings pick, and that was trading up 2 spots. And first reviewed as very valuable now. And the Spurs, like, I don't know how much they value Dylan Harper. Maybe they like the fit of VJ or Ace better at three, and maybe they only want to move back 1 spot, and one first is enough. So I don't know. I'll probably do that. Not sure if the Spurs would. I've seen like Spurs fans be happy to trade down. I've seen Spurs fans like not want to. Uh,
Hmm.
maybe I'm undervaluing it. I probably wouldn't give up like two first to trade up though, because I do like the players that are there at three. I do have some trade back ideas because you mentioned it, and
Yeah, for
I
sure, bro.
I
Like,
would also probably rather do that. So Kevin O'Connor at Yahoo Sports, he used to work for the Ringer.
yeah.
He had one where I don't think the Pelicans would do this because they're giving up a lot, but they trade up from 7 to 3, and we get Herb Jones, and they also have a
Oh, I
Pacers
saw that trade.
2026
Yeah.
first round pick. So I think that's too much. I would probably even do that without the Pacers first round pick because Herb Jones, I think when he plays, like he's usually pretty healthy. He wasn't healthy this year. Um, I think he's like a top. He's been a top 50 impact player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not from
Good
like a
defensive player.
points, rebounds, assist perspective, but like total impact on the game. He's been a top 50 player. If you trade back to 7, he had us taking Kamal Maluach. I don't really want to do that. I would rather have like I don't know. I would hope Colin Knippel's there. If he's not, I really like Noah Essengay from France. He just measured in at 6'10", barefoot. He's like a power forward type of guy, big, grabs rebounds, gets to the free throw line. I would be happy if we got Herb Jones and Essengay, but he had Malawatch. So, would you do that trade with or without the Pacers pick? And who would you like at 7? Couple guys in case one's not there.
Well, I was gonna ask you a question first before I answered
Okay.
it. I was gonna say, what about Trey Murphy?
I don't think we can make the salaries match because that would be really interesting. But I don't know if we can match the salary. I love Trey Murphy. He's actually one of my favorite players in the league. So it's funny to
Yeah,
bring him
yeah,
up.
yeah.
I have like such a soft spot for him. I would probably overvalue him in the trade because I would just love to see one of my favorite players play on my team. I would absolutely do it if he was in the deal. So if we could find a way to make the salaries match, I don't know. Like I don't know what restrictions we have, whether like because I know we got a trade exception. I don't know if that could work or something like that, but I would absolutely love him. So if that was possible, if they wanted Ace Bailey and they're like he's redundant with Trey, we'll send out Trey with that pick. I would do that. So because I love him.
I mean, okay, so I feel like if we let's say like we make that deal, we get the number 7 pick. I would say like, man, that's hard. That's hard. I would say like low key, maybe draft a backup big.
So
Um,
you'd be fine with Malawatch. I think
I'd
I'd
be
be
fine with
okay with
like
it. I
Malawash
would
and
like
Derek Queen. Like, like one of those two. But I mean, preferably, I'd rather be higher in the lottery. But that's just because I
Yeah,
know that this draft class is, I mean, not like allegedly, but they say that it's not as good as um like in terms of just a drop off of talent. You know?
yeah. They're like kind of all on the same tier. It's interesting. Seven's weird because like the players that would fit with the Sixers are most likely going to go between like 3 and 5 or 3 and 6 between like VJ Ace,
Yeah,
Con, Trey. That's like four players that are going
yeah.
to be like. So seven's a weird spot for us. We just got to hope somebody takes Fears or takes Malawatch there, and then one of our guys falls to us. But I don't know. And then the other one was Sam Vecini at the Athletic. He had one, which is interesting too. It's we trade back from 3 to 4 with the Wizard. No, not the Wizard, the Hornets. The Hornets also have like the 32nd overall pick in the draft.
Mm,
So we send 3 and we get rid of Andre Drummond's $5 million
mm,
to create cap space, and we get back the fourth overall pick, and we get the 32nd overall pick, and
mm,
then we do another trade back to with the Wizards is the second one, and we get they pick number like 8, no, pick number 6. They pick number 6,
yeah,
and they have pick number 18 or 19, one of those two.
yeah.
And then so in this one, and we ship off Eric Gordon's salary. So in this one, we shed $10 million in
Okay,
salary,
okay, okay. I
something like
see
that.
it. Yeah, I see
ten
what
million dollars in salary, but we had picks number like we have pick number 6, and he had us taking Con Canepu. Pick number like 18, he had us taking Danny Wolf from Michigan. Pick number 32 was a Dude Thero from Arkansas. And then our pick at 35, he had us taking Yannick Coden Niederhauser from Penn State.
you're.
So we walk away with 4 rookies. We shed $10 million in salary, but we don't get like one of the high picks. Personally, I like it because I'm such a big Con Knuckle fan. I
Mm-hmm.
do like a Dude Thero. He's been on my radar as a second round pick this whole time. I do like him as like a potential like point of attack defender on the wing.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Danny Wolf a lot too as a big that could stretch the floor because I don't think you could have enough big depth with like Joel Embiid on your roster. Like you're going to need a lot of like bigs to play when he's not there. Um, and I think that Danny Wolf also could play next to a Dembona because Danny Wolf is so mobile. I don't know if you're like familiar with Danny Wolf's game. He kind of reminds me like of a
I'm
Nas
not familiar
type
with
guy.
that.
He's
Please
very
educate
fun to watch. He's older. He's like a 4 year, but he's very fun to watch. I really like him.
me.
But that one's pretty interesting. So how would you feel about that one compared to the other trade back?
Well, I like it in terms of getting rid of I think what Drummy Gordon are coming back. It's a
Yeah,
players
player options.
yeah. Um so like I understand why we're doing that in terms of that aspect. Um I guess like my only concern is given the fact that we're contending, quote unquote, right?
Hmm.
Like we need a veteran guard, I guess, in those kind of trades, or at least like a young player with like talent. Not saying like let's say like we trade like we do that trade, we trade the pick to Washington, right? I feel like we could pry somebody, but
So
I don't
you'd want like a Balil Koulibaly instead of the second round pick or something like that. You
like
think that would
somebody
be
like that,
good
yeah,
value?
like somebody who's young, who has potential. Um, And I think the Sixers are trying to build this culture of having ragtag players kind of on one team. So if you're gonna do that, then we should get some type of veteran instead of nothing. But that's just kind of like how I view it.
I think that Sam was doing that because he looks at it like getting Gordon's salary off our team is enough.
We got like 5 minutes left.
Okay. And I do want to say about Khan. I saved something on Twitter today because he did not originally do the NBA combine when everybody else did, and that looked
Mm,
really bad. However, he did a combine pretty recently, and his results are updated to the NBA's website.
mm,
His lane agility time, these numbers are probably not going to mean anything, but I'm going to put them in context a little bit, was 11.92 seconds. His shuttle run was 2.92 seconds. His three-quarter sprints was 3.5 seconds. And then the standing vert was 31.5 inches.
mm,
But his max vertical leap, which you could like run and jump into, was 36.5. Those
mm.
those vertical leaps were way better than I expected.
Yeah.
He actually had a better standing vert than VJ Edgecombe.
Hmm.
I'm not
Okay.
like in game that like didn't check out, and I think that matters more than the combine. But I don't know. Like the way I'm looking at it is like VJ Edgecombe, like this like elite athlete is being sold as like kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
had
yeah.
an underwhelming combine. He also had a faster shuttle run than VJ. It's like well VJ did jump like 2 inches higher off like running like the max vert. I don't know. Con Knipple isn't as like unathletic as he's being sold as. I'm a big Con Knipple fan. I know you're a big Duke fan, so I know you've watched Con throughout the year. I just wanted to know your thoughts on him. How you
Honestly,
think he
bro,
does on the
like,
team, and if you would be willing to take him at 3, or if you would need to trade back to take him.
see, I don't think I would take him at 3, but I think Khan has the qualities that you need in a winning player.
I agree.
So I mean, honestly, like I think him and VJ have similar qualities. The difference is that Khan has a better shot, in my opinion. Um, so like I had VJ slipping, so I probably would choose Khan over VJ
Hmm.
in my personal opinion if I were drafting both of them. But um, I probably wouldn't draft him at 3. I'd probably trade down, try to see again if I can get a veteran player and then draft Khan, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel, bro.
I really like Khan. I think like you see it with the Pacers, like high processor can really shoot the ball. I think he's very important to winning. I'll be fine with him. I would like a trade down because I think like you could, and I think it's best to maximize your assets when possible. So I
Yeah.
think like even if it's just a trade down to 4 and like you pick up a little bit, or like a trade down to 5, you pick up a little bit. I don't know. I've kind of been like an ace guy the whole time. The process does really scare me, but I have like some weird attachment to him that I can't shake, and I don't know why. Um, even though like I don't think he's the smart pick, and I don't think that's what we're going to do. Like if I'm in the chair, I think it would be hard for me to pass on him just because I think the traits are there. And like while I am like a more analytical guy, like especially the NBA level, I don't know. Prospect, I'm looking at traits. Um, Sam Vecini brought up a good point. I was listening to him talk. He looks up to Paul George. Paul George kind of came in as like more of a role player and like blossomed into a star. So I think having Paul and the team that got Ace would be good for us. So I think like more context needs to be added in just like the spreadsheets. But I'm okay with VJ or Trey. They're both really hard workers. I think it's a lot of good options there. So um I
Yeah,
really don't
bro.
know right now, if I'm being honest with you, bro.
I mean,
I think the intangibles would matter a lot.
we want to thank everybody for listening. I also want to I want to say I appreciate everybody who subscribed every time we've uploaded. We see y'all out there. Keep engaging with us. We're gonna be dropping more. But yeah, man, thank you again, man. Thank you, everybody. You got anything to say, bro?
No, I just appreciate y'all for watching.
Yeah, bro. Like, comment, subscribe. We good. We good.